the gentleman for yielding, and I was reviewing your prior answer, Reverend Sharpton. You are cited in a Washington Examiner piece, July 30th, 2019, as having said, if the Jews want to get it on, tell them to pin their yarmulkes back and come over to my house. And in your response to my question, you said you were just referring to one person. So here is my very limited question for you, Reverend. Were you misquoted in this story when you say the Jews and them, referring to a plural group of people rather than one person you seem to have a grievance with?
Well, am I allowed to answer? My name is Sharpton, not Lewandowski. I will answer the question if I'm allowed.
Please. We know your name, sir. Go ahead and answer.
And you then know that I'm going to answer. I was referring to an incident and a threat to come to my home by Mordecai Levy and to the homes of, I believe, Reverend Daughtry and others. How the Examiner, I think you said, or someone else wrote, I'm not looking at it, so I do not know whether they misquoted me or not. I do know what I said and who I was referring to.
Well, did you say them?
I just said that I'm not looking at the statement. I do not. You're talking about a situation that happened in 1991. If I said them, the, or those, I don't know. I know that incident and I know what I was referring to. And a man threatening to come to our home who had that kind of criminal record. And I had two young children, I think under 5 years old.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer.
Again, I'm not Lewandowski. Let me talk. I'll talk. I'll testify before this committee.
You know, so is it your belief that
if I said them or not, would that help or hurt excessive force of policing?
Well, I think it's pretty significant when someone wants to come and preach to us.
Mr. Chairman, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Chairman, point of parliamentary inquiry. Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Someone else did first. The gentleman will state his point of.
I don't believe you talk about the people that come before you.
The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman will state his point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Chairman, when a witness is asked a question in a hearing before this Judiciary Committee, do our rules provide that the witness is permitted to answer the question?
The witness is permitted to answer the question.
I have a parliamentary
but the member controls the time.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Hold on. The member controls the time. If the member judges that the question is answered to his satisfaction, he may go on to another question. The gentlelady will state her point of parliamentary inquiry.
When a witness is attempting to answer the question, is it the rules of this committee that the witness be allowed to answer the question? And is it also in the decorum of this committee to not badger the witness if the witness is attempting to answer the question?
The member, well, there are two answers. The member controls the time. If the member thinks that the question has been answered to his satisfaction, he may cut off the answer and go to a further question. However, it is not permitted to badger a witness. We do afford members considerable latitude, but badgering witnesses is inappropriate, and our committee should not conduct itself in that manner. It is expected that all parties to these proceedings comport themselves with decorum and professionalism, and at all times in a manner that reflects creditably on the House of Representatives. House rules require the chair to maintain order and decorum, and I will do so. The gentleman controls the time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ain't having no march. I believe in fighting. Well, fight then. Ain't nobody holding you. I'll off the man. We'll off him. Plenty of crackers walking around here tonight. Did you say those words?
I do not recall saying I will not march. I think for the last 40 years I've marched. I think that you're referring to, and I'm not sure, but I think you're referring to when I was dealing with some people that said that they don't want to march and that they're going to off people. And I told them there are plenty of people walking around that they called the name. They're not offing anybody because I felt that they were just trying to disrupt our asking people to march. So in the context of I was quoting as I said the reference made about I don't want to march.
And astrology and mathematics before Socrates and them Greek homos ever got around to it. Did you say that, Mr. Sharpton?
I talked about African history and I talked about how we had dealt with astrology as well as mathematics and philosophy and religion in Africa.
But you referred to people as Greek homos, didn't you?
I do not recall how I referred to anyone. And
That's
you'd
quite
have to cite,
Do you think that your bigoted statements in 1991 are excusable just because they were in
I
1991?
think that any statement that I've made that was wrong, I have clearly said that we should not make bigoted statements, including me. I also think that to
Have you made
distort,
bigoted statements?
I think
Have you made
that
bigoted
also
statements,
to
Reverend?
distort.
Have you
You
made
can,
bigoted
you
Will
can
the
ask,
gentleman yield?
you can ask all the questions
Gentleman
you
yield?
want, but I'm going to
I wanna
answer
know
the
if you
question.
Will the gentleman
make bigoted
yield?
statements. When you call Greek homos, when you talk about white crackers, those are bigoted statements.
I think I made it clear that I was quoting what somebody said.
No, you
Yelling
announced what
and
you
getting upset is beneath your office. You should calm down.
The gentleman will state his point of order.
Once again, Mr. Chairman, after a sustained attack on the character of a witness that has been called by people on this panel, and that panel then attacks that witness in a sustained, deliberate manner, which is non-germane to the subject at hand, is it appropriate for a member to ask that the offending member's words be taken down?
It is not under the rules appropriate. The time is the gentleman's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would note these are highly relevant to the issues that we're facing. Reverend Sharpton has come before the House Judiciary Committee
The clock should be running.
as a purported expert on policing, and yet his bigoted statements undermine the bipartisan work we should be doing to ensure that all citizens are able to come together and have safe communities.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. How is
Gentleman will
this
state his
germane?
point of order.
How is this line of inquiry germane? And if it's not germane, is it appropriate?
To the point, may I speak to the point?
The chair will rule on the point. The chair will rule on the point of order. Although the gentleman's comments may be obnoxious, although they may
I object to that. Point of order, that is an improper characterization of the
gentleman's
member of the
comments
committee.
may be characterized as whatever you want to characterize them as.
I have a point of order that your words be taken down and referred
Oh,
to.
woe is me.
Gentleman-
I pick a fight
gentleman
and now
has
I need
wide-
help.
Under the rules, the gentleman has wide latitude, both on the question of germaneness and on the language that he uses. And unfortunately, under the rules, I cannot overrule him. The gentleman will proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You sold your life story, Mr. Sharpton, to your own charity. How much money did your charity pay you for the rights to tell your story?
Parliamentary inquiry. Mr. Chairman, this is an outrage, and the question is whether you can impugn the motives and/or insult or badger the witness or cost or characterize his presence at this
Objection,
table.
the gentlelady was not recognized.
Well, I have a parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady was not recognized. All right, stop the clock. Just stop. All right, you'll state the parliamentary inquiry.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the gentleman from Georgia made a point about a witness that we had just 2 days ago, which the impugning of the motive, the character destruction was not in the course of our questioning. What I say to our good friend from Florida, that you are now not only not being germane, but you are pointedly attacking the character, and in addition, bringing up information
It is not.
that, well, let me just finish. Bringing up information, it's an inquiry. Bringing up information that is a character destroying. And the question is, in the questioning of a witness, can you use items that refer to the witness's character and demeaning the witness's character? Is that an appropriate line of questioning?
Whether it is an appropriate line of questioning is not relevant. But with respect to the parliamentary inquiry, questioning a witness's character and motives, which may go to ascertaining the credibility to give to the testimony, we have always given very wide latitude, and the answer has to be that I cannot object to that. The gentleman will proceed.
How much money did your charity pay you personally, for the right to tell your life story?
My charity owed a certain amount of money to me and asked, could they use that money to have the right to sell any rights to my life, be it documentary, one-man play or other items that they have already began reaping dividends. They would have had to pay me the same sum anyway because it was owed to me.
Was that sum
so
over
the
$500,000?
answer, can I finish?
Was it over $500,000?
Can I
What
finish?
time-
Whatever the
More or
sum
less
was,
than $500,000
the sum, whatever
your
the
charity
sum.
gave you to tell your life story, because I think most people would see
The
that as
charity,
a fraud. It's a
again,
straight fraud.
Charity
Engaging in
again
fraud.
owed me a certain amount of money that
Over
they would have had to
500,000? I
pay
want an answer.
anyway.
Will you instruct
And
him to
they
tell us
were,
whether or not
I
it was more
agreed
than
to allow
500,000
them,
or less than 500,000 that his charity
Gentlemen,
paid him for his life story?
gentlemen's time.
I
has
allowed
expired.
them to use
Gentlemen's-
those funds
Chairman, I
to
asked you to
have